I'm Richard Porter.
I'm Jonny Smith.
And this is On the Other Side of Things, the Smith & Sniff spin-off in which we answer your questions. Oh yes.
Hello.
More of your questions for a Friday. I'm going to start with one from a listener called Josh Aspinall.
Go on then. I dare you.
He says, every day on my way to work, I walk past an SSJ.
Oh.
In brackets, sweet, sweet Jag. It's a 2012 XK Portfolio Auto.
Oh.
The 5-litre V8 one.
Oh gosh, that's a late one, isn't it? That's...
Yeah, that's a nice car.
I know someone that bought one of those, a famous person.
Really?
Yeah, Vernon Kay, the DJ.
Yes. Did
I
he?
remember having a chat with him when he said he'd sold his Nissan GTR and he was ordering a Portfolio supercharged XJ. Yeah.
Now, Vernon Kay is an Jagman, isn't he? Because I'm sure at some point he had an S-Type R.
Mm. He's had several Jags, and I'm trying to find out what he currently pedals. But I think he's a good Jag. I think his dad always aspired, because I interviewed him about his car life. This was years ago, over 20 years ago, and he said to me that his dad definitely aspired to own Jags, but I don't think he could ever afford them. So when he had enough money to do so, I think he became Jagman, which, as we all know, is the lesser-known superhero, but is still a superhero.
Yes, it's a very louche one. Anyway, Josh says, I'm a 29-year-old northerner from a village just outside Chester, now stuck in the depths of leafy London, working in Westminster, where this car resides. The Jag in question has a virgin spec, 15,000 miles on the clock.
Gosh.
It's a clean example of the mark. And for the months that I've walked past it every day, it's only moved once to be cleaned, and that's it.
Oh, my God.
It's screaming old money, and it seems to be going to waste, tucked away down a quiet street where I once saw Victorian meat whistle Jacob Rees-Mogg. I don't think he's suggesting it's Jacob Rees-Mogg's car, it's just that he saw him on the same street.
Did you just say Victorian meat whistle?
Victorian meat whistle, Josh's words there. I have recently put a note on the car, Josh says, expressing my interest in purchasing it, but sadly received no response. My question to you both is there a better way of tracking down the owner without going all FBI on them? The car is parked outside what looks like an old money London house, but I think it's actually a business, so I don't want to start knocking on doors asking who the owner of the SSJ is.
I think
any advice would be wonderful.
I think this is old money. This could be an old money company car, I'm wondering.
Ooh.
So an old money business, business.
Yeah.
Now, without going FBI, as Josh said, I think persistence pays. In this instance, I think keep letter bombing them with very polite letters, handwritten ideally, in your best writing, and just even to say things like, "Look, I'm such an enthusiast of this particular mark of car." Use the word mark, and just keep putting your phone number and possibly your email, but definitely your phone number on there. And then even on one of the letters say, look, even if the car's definitely not for sale, I just appreciate knowing that you're receiving these letters in case they're being cleaned away or and binned. Thanks ever so much for your time. I'm sorry to bombard your beautiful vehicle with notes. So kill them with kindness and persistence.
I think you're right. Persistence pays off. You're probably thinking, if this is some kind of extremely laissez back street in Westminster and the old money house is actually a business, I wonder what sort of business.
Yeah.
Like tax advisor or something. But the main thing is it's in the kind of building that any right-thinking business chasing a profit couldn't base themselves in now because it just wouldn't be viable. So they've been there for years.
Oh, they've been there for years. This will have been their 10th company Jag, and they will have had 10 XJs.
But the Jag apparently not moving is interesting, and yet it seems, from what Josh is saying, it moved once to be cleaned. So it is cared for in a way, but just sort of feel surplus to requirements. So I think you're right. Just wear them down.
Wear them down, and because I mean, if that car never moves, can you only imagine how many batteries they've had to buy for it? And those a 5-litre V8 XJ battery is going to be an expensive battery, isn't it?
Yes, yeah.
I mean, that's terrifying how much money they will have spent on lead acids.
It's fascinating though. 15,000 miles on it. I mean,
you're getting the horn for
a 12-year-old car. Yeah. I wonder what colour it is. Josh doesn't say, but I always picture that era of Jag, and in the portfolio spec being that sort of light silvery blue with cream leather.
Yes, almost the colour of an impressive fish. I always think.
I think it was. Was it not called Impressive Fish Blue?
It should be.
In the catalogue, it should have been.
Mediterranean Holiday Fish Blue.
You know, years ago, I was talking to Ian Callum, car designer and SSG of the highest order, about, and I said, how do you choose the names for the colours in the brochure? And he said, well, it's a thing between marketing, but design is invited to go to the meetings. They have meetings, official, in the diary, choose some colour names for the 24 model year, whatever. And design is invited to go along. And Ian said, I'm supposed to go sometimes, but I can never be bothered.
Is that what he
and
actually
I went,
said?
Words to that effect. I'm misquoting, but it was essentially that was the gist. And I went, oh, could I go in your place? And he went, yeah, sure. And then I never chased up on it. And I wish I had, because I could have pitched Interesting Fish Blue.
You could have done. I think I'd be good at this game. It's not a game, it's a job, it's a business. I'd like to do it. Could we offer ourselves to any car manufacturer to do a brainstorm day of car names / paint names? Yeah.
I think if anyone's out there and wants us to dive in on that, we'll offer our services. Trim's a good one these days, isn't it? Yeah.
I think they've become more confusing than ever before, because sometimes the higher trim level sounds more dowdy than the base model. And you go, but so the base model's called the classic, and the upper, the higher one's called something which doesn't sound any more impressive than classic. So you're like, well, yeah, why don't you think a little harder?
Case in point was the Rover 75, because that was the club and connoisseur and classic, but they actually, connoisseur was the top.
Yeah.
And then they introduced contemporary as well. It's no sense of where that fits in things.
No.
Really.
And
it's the thing, it's the hierarchy, it's the lack of an obvious hierarchy. L, GL, GLS. You go, well, the more letters, the better it must be.
Well, we would have S, SS, SSG, wouldn't we?
Hang on, was there not a Nissan Bluebird SSG at some point?
Well, it was
in Japan.
There was a triple S. It was a triple S, wasn't it? A Bluebird coupe.
Yeah, but there was a triple S. There was a triple SG.
Was there?
With a hyphen. It had a hyphen in it, so it's not strictly, but yeah.
Oh gosh,
according to this, I just searched that. But so
when we start our car collection, we'll have to have an SSSG.
Yeah. Anyway, so yes, I think to answer Josh's question, you're absolutely right. Kill them with kindness, but persistence as well pays off.
Yeah, 100%. We're talking a letter a week.
Oh, are you going that high?
Oh, completely. It's just a small letter. Make it happen.
See, what Josh has on his side here is that he sounds like he's walking past this car every day, so he can put the note on and then see how quickly it disappears.
Yes. You could even do things like, it's a bit schoolboy, and if Josh is like our age, it might seem weird if he finally gets to meet the owners. But you could do things like, I'm so enthused by this car, I will offer to clean it for you for free, just so I feel less sorry for it. Just see if they take that bait. And they might go, oh, this person's a bit weird, but maybe they're just being kind.
That does sound a bit weird.
But if it's an old school business car, they might go, look, just take it round the corner, take her for a spin, get her up to working temperature, and then get it valeted, and please just put it back in the same space. Keys in the safe box.
You're kind of suggesting that Josh offers himself out as like the equivalent of a dog walking service.
Yes.
I will take your car for a good old run around the park.
I would do that. I would absolutely do that. The car walker. It would be working temperature, long distance. Do you want me to check the windows, the aircon, the sunroof? Do you want me to do all of that as well? Do you want me to do lubing of various areas? It sounds wrong, but you know what I mean. Yeah, I'd do that. Bloody hell, I'm quitting this podcast. This podcast sucks. I'm doing that.
It's shorter than the normal one because Johnny's just had a massive career change halfway through. Anyway, well, there we go. I hope that's some use, Josh. Let us know how it goes. I'm kind of rooting for you now because the Jag sounds lovely.
I've got a second on that other side of things question from David Marden. He asks, Johnny, did you ever feel like a fish out of water with your co-presenters not being a pro racing driver? This was Fifth Gear. I'm sure you learned a ton from being around Tiff, Jason, Vicky and Karun. Well, so I did at first. I think I felt quite inadequate because I knew that I was vastly underexperienced when it came to track work. But I then realised I was being employed because I wasn't that. So they didn't want another one. So if I was going to try and be competitive with Vicky or Tiff or Jason or Curran on a level of like trying to get their kind of lap times and their sharpness behind the wheel, then that would be wrong and I was setting myself up to fail. So I went in at the other angle and I did all the quirky stuff that I suppose I'm quite good at, and that a lot of especially Tiff and Jason, just could not understand. They used to find me quite comical, like the strange boy that sat at the front of the class in the old school classrooms, and like he's sort of interesting and nice, but he's very odd. So we used to do that, and I would really enjoy that. And then there was a point, though, I remember as the years went on that we worked together more and more, and we got to know one another better. And sure enough, 100% improved my driving by observing and sitting in with those guys driving cars quickly. So my car craft or driving craft, whatever you want to call it, whatever wanky name you've got, definitely improved. But I didn't feel like a fish out of water towards it. And I made it my own.
Yeah, exactly.
On that side.
Sorry, when you first read that out, all I could think of is why the expression isn't. Did you ever feel like a fish out of Marillion when it came to driving? I don't even know what that means.
God, the
fish out of water, obviously.
We haven't on this podcast mentioned the band Marillion, or indeed the lead singer, for probably a year now.
Have we not?
I don't think. I don't think it's been a year now, Rich. You've got.
And is that okay? Because I do feel like we,
I think it's okay.
We did go through periods of mentioning them a lot, or we did, didn't we? I thought we'd actually kind of declared a sort of period of zero Marillion.
My smart speaker,
that was our target.
My smart speaker played me a random playlist the other day off the back of one song that I wanted to listen to in that way that it does, and one of them was a Marillion track, and it wasn't Kaylee, and it was really good. And I actually asked it to repeat it, so there we
Fair
go.
enough.
I've said that out loud. Right.
Yes, I think you have. Can I? This isn't so much a question, but I don't know. It feels like a listener called Bill, is sort of searching for our validation on this. His message starts, "Oh, hello," which is always a nice start. What if, when you went to the dentist, you lay face down on a massage table and the dentist slides under you on one of those roly mechanic things, like for sliding under a car, and works on you from underneath? I really think it could work and would save a fortune on those fancy hydraulic dentist chairs.
This is such a cool idea.
Instead of those suction devices for sucking drool out of your mouth, you could just gob directly on the floor. You could put a drain in, as I produce a lot of gob. Also, this positioning would liberate you to multitask and have a masseur stroke your back or whatever.
Oh, this is such
to relax and distract you from the sadistic dentist underneath you with one of those minus lights strapped to his face as he slides into view.
Wouldn't it be great if you walked in to your dentist room on the next appointment, and then immediately, as soon as the door opens, the assistant goes, "Just be careful, there's a pit. Be careful."
Yes.
The pit's open.
The dentistry pit.
Watch the pit. And then,
I mean,
that's actually,
yes.
I'd like to see an artist's impression of this. Can we have some diagrams?
I mean, I presume that as someone who's a whiz at AI could probably get them to knock up something. But yeah, I mean, this is a great idea. I've read worse ideas.
It makes sense, but also I love the idea of a massage of some sort at the same time. You know those things where they cup you, not like that, like half a tennis ball bashing onto your back areas.
Yes.
I think it's supposed to be quite good. It's supposed to encourage blood flow and all that kind of thing.
Gwyneth Paltrow was big into it, wasn't she?
Oh, was she?
Yeah, because I think then she sort of was wearing a backless dress and she had all of these weird marks, and it was because she'd had half a tennis ball bashed into her back.
Oh.
The good thing also, if you got all the kit to do that, then the half a tennis ball could also be used to trigger the central locking on an 80s VW group car without the key, as per the famous... Is that an urban myth? I don't think it is it? No, it was the vacuum central locking.
It was. It was. I don't know. I can't remember the exact make and model of car, but I definitely remember it was a thing with thieves, half a tennis ball. And but also when you finish thieving, it's just got a practical element to it because you can just sleeve it over an exposed tow bar so you don't get a knee full of grease. Yeah, love that. That's the thing about tennis
multiple
balls.
Uses for half a tennis ball.
And then you throw it at a dog. Brilliant.
Yeah. Well, actually, the dog could become your sort of half tennis ball factory because they can take whole tennis balls and just tear them up. There's nothing a dog likes more than that.
I can't wait to go to the dentist and suggest this. I just can't.
Please do record the dentist's reaction because I think it would be... What are you wasting your time with this for? Why don't you just get onto the...
I'd love it.
The roly trolley thing.
Yeah.
Underneath. Yeah.
I'm now expecting a little snap-on or Mac tool chest down there with this miner's light on. And he's got a slightly raunchy calendar which he's had to hastily cover.
But those dentist chairs, I'm sure there's a listener out there who'll know this. But I have a feeling those dentist chairs must be very expensive.
They are. I've definitely inquired about the tool tray. You know, he has there's a pedestal with a lot of tools, and they're all compressed air assisted, aren't they? With this tiny little...
Oh, yes, they are, yeah.
I asked about all of that because I was looking at it, and he said they're Japanese, and he said they're incredibly expensive. But they're also very reliable because he said, they get, if you think about how many hours they get used a day... Yeah, the machines are doing a lot of work per day. So yeah, I got into a bit of nerd chat about it. That is probably one of my favourite questions we've ever had on this cast.
It's not even a question, but it's still good, isn't it?
Yeah.
So there we go. Well, I mean, if you are a dentist and you're listening and you can think of any drawbacks to that system, keep them to yourself.
Yeah.
We're not interested. We think this is brilliant.
We don't want to know.
But yeah, well, I would like to know how much for a full dentistry rig of the current setup, because I reckon, 10 grand?
More. I reckon more.
Do you think?
I don't think 10 grand goes far in precision tools these days.
No. Everything about those dentistry chairs, the sort of the arm comes in with a little tray for putting stuff on.
Yeah.
And it does all look really smooth.
I'd like one in the back of a Maybach. I'd like to get maybe a 12-year-old Maybach. Was it the 62? Which one was the extra long one? The 65 or the 62?
62.
I'd get one of those and I'd remove some of the back chairs and things, put one of those in, and I'd offer, like a mechanic that comes to your door and stuff, just dentistry to your door. Just go, can you get in the Maybach? No, it'd be fine. I'd have a bit of veneer on the Dolby Plus.
Of course, yeah.
I'd probably have I'd have a midnight flashing lights headlining put in so that when you're lying down on the chair you can relax, or even a pano roof. I don't know yet. Well,
they did have, didn't they? Because it was at the time a very radical and unusual photochromatic roof that you could dim it just with a button.
Okay. So perfect for dentistry. In case the view's not very nice, you can just frost it away. There we go. So Maybach dentistry. There
you go.
That just sounds like
the dentists often have a fish tank, don't they?
They do, and ours, my dentist, I'm a little bit appalled by it because it was in very dismal order. And last time I went, and my daughter, I was not being seen. My daughter was, and I actually offered to clean it for them, but I think they thought I was joking, but I was actually serious. So,
but a hard thing to get into a moving luxury limousine.
Oh, an aquarium, a car-based aquarium would be nothing but a nightmare. Nothing but a nightmare. Nothing but a nightmare. Right.
Why does Nothing But a Nightmare sounds like a 90s R&B song?
Oh, it would be, wouldn't it? It would be just horrific.
Early 2000s. Nothing spelled Nuthin apostrophe.
Wyclef Jean famously had a shark tank in the back of a Hummer H2, I believe.
Did he?
Yeah, it was a stupid idea, and I'm almost certain that the sharks died, which is horrible.
Yeah.
But that's back in the day, would have been early 2000s when all that stuff was, the whole Pimp My Ride was in its full swing. Yeah, I remember that. I don't know why. I think the Black Eyed Peas all have modified H2s as well, but I've got no interest in them, so I'm not going to talk about that. Right,
no,
so
don't give them the oxygen of publicity.
I'm just going to mention a chap who's written in called Matt Abela, or Abela, Abela, and he said, on a previous cast, in brackets, possibly in COVID times, Jonny was saying how much he enjoys oil shopping and takes great care in supplying his vehicles with top-notch oil. I also enjoy this. However, I end up getting myself into an oily wormhole of well-lubed confusion and misery. I can relate. He said, I've got an E46 M3. Well done, Matt. Gosh, I love those cars. There are many oil variants available on that side of things. Castrol, Miller's, Shell, Motul, and so on and so forth. Gus, my dad says that. I am just wondering what Jonny's preferred oil is. I'm swaying towards Castrol, as I know that's what BMW recommends for the old girl. Okay, so, well, I'm not officially affiliated, I don't think you or I, with any oil companies, so we can be free fall here. I've said in the past, I've always used Castrol GTX on my Beetle because it's always just been good, and I feel like if it's been good till now, why change? So that has GTX. My Dodge always has Lucas oil, an American high quality oil. Yeah, Lucas hot rod oil, and I'm in between that. I've got Motul in the 2CV because the 2CV people love a bit of Motul.
Okay.
And I'm kind of flexible. I've bought numerous ones. I've bought Silcoline, I've bought Valvoline, I've bought Shell. Is it Shell Helix? I'm all over the shop, but I think.
No, but that's good. You've got an open mind to oil. You're not an oil loyalist. You choose the right tool for the job.
I'm an open-minded oilist. Yes, I am. I do like oil shopping. I'm trying to remember. I should have done more research, but it's the rating, the letter and the number rating denotes its quality, or the content of zinc or something inside it, and that's good. Apparently,
right?
Because it annoys me a lot, the number of people who just buy any old oil and they've got like a 50 grand car, and you're like, you're an idiot. You're an absolute idiot.
Yeah,
I say to people, this is the blood of the car.
Don't even like buying a used car. I mean, ideally you'd do an oil change, wouldn't you? But not always possible. But then you'd need to top it up.
Yeah.
And I don't even like doing that and going, well, I'm putting this in because I know it's good shit, but I don't know what's already in there, and it's mixing two things, and it feels impure. I know that's ridiculous. As long as it's doing its job, it should be okay.
As long as the thingies are right, the weight. But I say this again. This is probably one of my most dad spec comments. I always say to people, you can't over change oil. You could become weirdly obsessed with it and change it like every week, even if you did average mileage. It would be excessive. But that's
what Americans do, isn't it?
Yeah.
They're constantly changing their oil.
Yeah, they do the driving oil change thing, don't they? And so you can't overchange oil. And I have a lot of high mileage cars, and I'm certain, looking at their service history, that the key to that car's longevity has been regular oil changes with good oil. So there is method to the madness. So I haven't actually got a very good answer for your question, Matt. But
well, no, but I think what you've said is your answer, which is, it's the right oil for the job.
Don't be afraid of spending a high dollar on oil, because it is money well spent. It's like tyres, you sort of pays your money and you make your choice, and there's a reason for that. But Matt also followed it up by saying he previously owned an Isuzu Piazza Turbo, and Matt also was the person that sent the link to us for the truly terrifying Nigel Mansell bust that we since bought. That you bought it, didn't you?
Yes, I did. Did we give that away in the end?
We did, because Lisa in the Late Break Show office was too scared to have it nearby.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, she didn't want it on the premises, so we gave it away. Yeah. Maybe in Glasgow was that? I can't remember.
Yeah, I did give it away.
Can I read out a message from a listener called, I think it's Ivan, but the Welsh spelling. Apologies if that's not. But anyway, he says... Is it Ifan? Ifan, yeah. Ifan Gruff. With Richard's Panda purchase as a prime example, car people like us seem to be at the heart of bad decision-making, fueled by excitement and ill-fated logic. I feel like I'm alighting on a similar mission. I love Mark III Golfs. Don't ask, I just do. I'm 20 years old and choddy Golfs are my thing.
Choddy Golfs.
I will own one day a VR6 or GTI. There are still plenty around.
Yes.
On eBay, for a while, there is a Mark III Golf van for sale. It's been relisted a few times due to insufficient bids.
Oh.
Now, unlike a VR6 or GTI, this is not a common sight.
No.
At the moment, it's ticking over the £500 mark. Mark III vans are rarer than Bugattis.
They are.
Probably for very obvious reasons.
Yeah, they really are. I know a guy with one, funnily enough.
Do you?
Yes, I do. Yeah, I actually do. Well. I've got a post-it right here with his name and number on it. On my kitchen table.
How coincidental. The other night, even says, I was dangerously close to submitting a cheeky bid. I even typed out £520, but failed to submit. It was 1:30 a.m. What do most 20-year-olds do at 1:30 a.m. on a Tuesday? Everything but browsing a flaky 4-cylinder diesel 1990s panel hatchback van on eBay. It's dangerously attractive in refrigerator white with steel wheels, plastic bumpers, cloth seats and a gap in the dashboard instead of a stereo. It's a diesel, yes, and as you can see from the photos, the underneath of it seems to be made of bran flakes.
Bran flakes, that's great.
This is where Ethan becomes very impassioned about this, because he says it can't not be possible. There is a way, despite it costing more than a month of rent for me. I could get a train to Aylesbury from Cardiff, pay in cash, or ask very nicely for them to trailer it to Cardiff for me, explain that I'm a student and I don't have parking, or keep it on the seller's large drive with a large smile and a few extra pounds, befriend someone with a space and a trailer to fetch it and store it for me till I graduate. I'm doing architecture, so graduation is miles away. I could start trailer driving lessons, buy a cheap trailer, slap a cheap tow bar on my Mark VI Golf 1.6 and simply drive to the Mark III and load it up. Then trailer it to a random country lay-by near my home so my parents don't know.
No, but there's definitely a way, a better way.
Or I could keep it under a cover in a Cardiff-sized street near my university house and go and sit and stare at it when I can. Then, when I move out of Cardiff next year, casually bring it up in conversation and ask if I can keep it on the family driveway till I find the funds to pick.
Well, listen, if he's really serious and he wants to buy that car, I'm sure using the power of this podcast, we could find someone who'd be willing to let him store it somewhere in the vicinity, on the promise that he actually does chip away at it and improve it. The other good thing is if that car is a bit rotty, there is enough Mark III Golfs out there that you could do what they call cutout repairs.
Yeah.
So I would almost buy, a non-van Mark III that perhaps had half decent chassis and just circular saw out big chunks of floor pan and stuff and let them in sections rather than trying to make your own panels. It's actually a neater way of doing it.
Yeah, now I should say, he said that the underneath appears to be made of bran flakes. He's absolutely right. It's the pictures from the ad do reveal that, but it's actually also what you can see from just standing by the car that's even more shocking. The front offside wing has rotted so much that it stops, I would say, about 10 centimetres above the sill. And then there's another massive scab by the running strip. The rear arches, absolute shit show. There's a close-up of the radio aerial at the rear of the roof. That's got a rust scab next to it. There's a close-up of the top of the windscreen by the drip rail. That's got a big rust scab.
Is this on eBay right now?
Yeah.
Where in the country is it?
It's Aylesbury, I believe.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. So it's the if you imagine the way that they blanked in the rear side windows with actually they sort of left quite a thick rubber gaskets, and then the leading edge of that on one side is just like an old trawler. It's just bleeding brown, rusty,
a bleeding trawler
spots down the side. Yeah, it is. It just this whole thing looks like it's actually been left in the sea.
Awful.
They are definitely rare, aren't they? But
They're
are they
that
rare?
A guy I know locally has one, and it's going to be for sale. And it's ex Gatwick Airport airside.
Oh,
which is, I think, the sort of thing that they got bought for in fleets. So as a consequence, he said his has hardly done any miles. It's a diesel. I think it's a non-turbo diesel. So it's actually really good for young drivers, insurance-wise. Yeah.
That will have been extremely aggressively hammered in first and second gear, but probably never been into fourth due to speed restrictions on the airfield.
That's absolutely true. Fourth has never been used.
Because that reminded me, was the Mark III Golf van particularly popular for airside operations? Because I remember seeing one looking very tatty at Luton Airport, I think it was, and I wrote a column about it. I wrote a column about airport cars, that just you never get to see the real world. No. We've talked about, haven't we? Airport buses being the even worse.
I had a thing for G-Wagons, because up until about probably, 5 years ago, maybe a bit more, there was still a lot of sort of 90s non-AMG G-Wagons used in European airports.
Oh,
and I thought to myself, how do you buy them when they're defleeted? How do I find one and buy one? Because they're always low kilometres and base model and stuff like that.
Well, when I saw the Golf van at Luton Airport, I then saw its presumably sister car in the distance on the far side of the taxiways, and it was on the back of a truck and had been high-abbed in a really careless way because it was obviously just off to the scrapper.
Oh no!
And I guess it comes to the end of its working life. Yeah, and I felt quite sorry for it. But that's the last time I can remember seeing a Mark III Golf van, and that was years ago.
I don't.
Yeah, they're rare.
They are very rare.
I don't really know what to say, because on the one hand you go, don't be so silly. What are you going to do with this visibly rotten thing? But it's also clearly it's haunting Afan and he won't rest until he's got it.
I think I don't know what we can
do to talk him out of it.
Follow your heart. If you, even better if you're practically handed and you can actually do DIY on the car. The other thing is if you manage to negotiate the price because no one else is interested in it, if all goes wrong and you buy it and you have second thoughts, you can just hopefully sell it on for at least what you paid for it, by taking better photos, describing it better, and advertising it on pervert forums, as in Volkswagen specific in this case.
Okay, well, that's enough for your questions this week. Do keep them coming. hello@smithandsniff.com. We will do all this again on Friday. New regular episode out on Monday. Until then, goodbye.
Cheers, mate. Thanks, mate. Bye.